Bitcoin is getting ready for this. I'm going to show you guys what I mean in just a moment, but first I want to go over why we're seeing such a red February when historically Februarys are real good months, especially if we're in the middle of a bull market and 2025 is expected to be just tremendous upside. And then a few articles here, my opinions on all of these as well. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna share my opinion with you guys on what's going on, how I'm prepping for Bitcoin to do what it's gonna do, and what my intentions are with this going not just throughout the rest of this last week of February, but going into March as well. So remember, guys, everything I say in this video is just my own personal opinion. It is not financial advice. I always stick with my trades until I am proven wrong. But first of all, we have a lot of good and so positive and negative news always lately for like the last month, right? Like Bitcoin, 44% of US ETF holdings are for holding. They're 44% of these US ETFs, the amount of liquidity in them are for the long term, right? And it's looking real good for the foundation of Bitcoin. And then you have a lot of things like Bitcoin's prepping for an 80 trillion US price bombshell, but then you have negative news of like um, Bitcoin ETFs post second straight week of $500 million outflows. And we have a lot of mixed news, but none of that really matters. And historically, Bitcoin tends to do really, really well in February. We still have a week left of February, but we do have some negative months, as you can see. Like this one was really negative, but a lot of them are really positive, right? So why are we seeing a negative February this time around? Is it just due to chance that it was about time we see a negative February, or is it due to something else? And I'm gonna share my opinion with you guys, starting with the big picture here, because Bitcoin is looking very healthy regardless of the news that's out there. So ever since last year, right, we've been trading sideways for a while. Mid 2024 kind of extended all the way towards the end of it a little bit. And then right at the end of the year, we've seen a really strong bullish momentum build up, and it pushed us all the way up to $100,000 towards the end of the year. So if we see such a strong rally, does it not make sense to see the price try to factor in that rally by consolidating for some time for such an aggressive rally, right? And during this consolidation, in my opinion, there is no negative evidence of, anything supporting that we're going to see any more aggressive dips in Bitcoin, and we're not going to see we haven't seen the end of this bull market. And what I mean by that is that ever since we pumped up all the way up, we made a high right here, right? We maxed out this fib extension area to the upside. We had enough bullish momentum to hit it, which means that there is enough bullish momentum in the background building up to eventually max it out. And we did max it out. During this consolidation phase after this high right here, we end up coming down, finding support where previously price has kind of consolidated a little bit. It pulled it back down to this price area, ended up finding support, maxing out this fib extension to the downside, and then we end up going higher. We made a new high from here. This high, though, normally when we see an overshooting B wave, for example, on the bigger picture on Bitcoin, we expect to see a more aggressive C wave completion, breaking below the previous major swing low. But instead, we didn't. Things are changing, right? And this has to do with the how aggressively the foundation of Bitcoin is built. It's building up and it's strengthening even more with the amount of companies, countries, and states in the US that are accumulating Bitcoin. They're creating a strong foundation for the price to continue to stabilize and then soon enough push up higher, right? And the reason I think it's going to push up higher, and I'm very confident it will do so, is because after that overshooting B wave and we maxed out another fib extension supportive area to the downside here, we end up moving a little higher, which is fine, right? You can say that, well, it was just trying to find support, try to factor in this big dip down before moving lower, but instead it didn't. It respected a lot of liquidity walls that have been evolving over the last, like, basically month now, where we are using these supportive and resistance liquidity walls to form a channel. This channel has been holding very, very strongly. Before this channel, and when this dip came down, we saw an imbalance form right here, right? So we have an imbalance that has not been filled yet. It attempted to fill it here, but instead it found resistance at previous consolidation area right here. So it pulled down. But instead of making a new low from here, we end up moving sideways, right? So this channel is very, very strong. We had another fib extension support area that was maxed out right here. So that's another bullish case that if, since we didn't go up, find resistance and pull it back down, breaking below the 1.618 line, we have bullish momentum. It's as simple as that when it comes to just alone from what the chart is telling us, is that there is not really a whole lot to be afraid of at these levels. Because also, if you look at it in a more simple format, right? We're up, we're down, we're up, we're down. It makes sense for it to try to fill back up. But why does it have to fill back up, right? Why does it make sense that Bitcoin will fill this up, regardless of 2025 being expected to be a really, really good year for Bitcoin, regardless of what a lot of analysts are saying for $150,000, $200,000 Bitcoin, regardless of all of that? Since we didn't make a new low and the price began to trade sideways, right? At first, we had lower highs forming, as you can see, and we had some lower lows forming, as you can see. Recently, even with the Federal Reserve being kind of hawkish and saying that they're not in a hurry to cut rates, which is a big deal for these growth assets, regardless of that, and regardless of the jobless claims report that was reported recently this month, we didn't see much negative downside, right? So instead, what we have is from this low, we came up higher. We ended up breaking over this swing high right here, creating a higher low. So now the form is changing. Instead of lower lows, we're now making a higher low. A higher high. Instead of higher lows, we're making a higher high. And when we came back down, which was actually is very unfortunate, the Bybit hack, but this created a very, very solid foundation for Bitcoin because we have this fib extension area up here, right? That we want to see it max out to create a better setup for us to eventually hit this next target area to fill in this imbalance, which will then clear path for the next all-time high rally up in this area, right? The next leg up area. So if this is expected to happen now that we're seeing sort of a shift of structure, so far we haven't broken below this low. So as of right now, we also have a higher low. And this Bybit hack also made it where we were able to, and coincidentally, it happened right after we reached this fib extension area, just like the previous one I showed back here. I'm expecting something similar to unfold, right? This happens a lot of times with Bitcoin. If you guys have been watching for a long time, you know that I've caught these patterns just a ton of times where we have enough momentum. If we have enough momentum to reach this fib extension area, we have enough momentum to soon enough go ahead and max it out, right? Break into it a little bit more aggressively. Since we did have the Bybit hack, what ended up happening was this gave us an opportunity to see how strong the supportive liquidity walls are to the downside. So these liquidity walls here are holding still to right now, this moment, are still holding very, very strong. So what we have currently is a retracement area stretched out all the way to this high. It came all the way down. It's using it right now as potential resistance. Also within this dip, we have this area right here, which is also acting as resistance. So we have a little bit of resistance forming, but at the same time, this low, which maxed out the RSI to the downside. Unlike now, where we saw it happen again, where it maxed it out more aggressively, but at a higher level. And then recently right here, it also maxed it out at a higher level. So the RSI is starting to also have a shift of characteristics, trying to build up its calculations for a new bullish new uptrend to occur, right? So we have the structure showing strength. We had the RSI also supporting that strength. At the same time, the bigger picture is showing that there is not a whole lot of bearish momentum compared to bullish momentum. So what I am looking at now, and if you guys watched one of my live streams, I think it was Thursday's live stream or Friday, I did add more to BitU. So now I have over 2,000 shares. We came down and we are starting to show the strength of this supportive liquidity walls down here once again. On top of that, since the RSI is also very much discounted, if this price stays suppressed tomorrow, the first market day of this last week of February, I plan to accumulate more BitU. I want to aggressively buy BitU at these levels because Bitcoin is, like I've showed you guys already, is building enough momentum, enough evidence that it is building enough momentum to begin to go higher, right? So if before the Bybit hack, we had economic data come out and the price kept rallying, it was showing strength. This ruined that rally, but at the same time, it also proves that this supportive liquidity wall area down here is holding strong. So what we can look at now is accumulating at these levels, because once all this begins to die out, once the fear begins to go away, we're just gonna, investors and traders are gonna go back to the mindset that everyone had prior to this hack that happened, right? So at these levels down here, being not just discounted in the overall structure, not just being discounted in the RSI, but being discounted in this short-term channel that we're seeing form since early February, since basically the beginning of February. So this last week of February, I'm expecting it to start off a little weak. As you can see, I'm gonna be using it to my advantage to accumulate BitU, because I strongly believe that towards the end of this week and into March, we will see the uptrend continue to prove itself valid. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos and finding them helpful. I'm hoping I make a lot of sense when I talk. Sometimes if anyone's new to crypto, they might not make a lot of sense, but I use enough tools here to support a lot of the evidence for whatever structure we're in. So yeah, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I believe we will not just move higher, but I believe that very, very soon, if it doesn't happen by the end of this coming up week that we're in now, I do believe it's going to happen in March. A lot of these suppressed prices happened because, again, we need to consolidate after such an aggressive rally upwards, right? As you can see, super aggressive rally. So we're trying to factor that in. And that is why I believe we're seeing a negative February at the end of the day, regardless of news, regardless of the vibe that's on the news media right now, regardless of all of that. The structure is proven to be strong. We are discounted, so it makes a lot of sense for me, at least, to continue to accumulate BitU, and I will keep doing so, and I'll update you guys on that position soon. And usually I do updates during live streams. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.